what would you say the biggest issue is? Like when I think of not servicing your water heater, we run into this all the time. We'll go out, water heater's leaked, and now it's destroyed their, what do you call it? The table it sits on?
It's like a pedestal. Yeah.
Pedestal, it destroys the pedestal it sits on. Then you got to bring out someone like ServPro or one of the many other great companies that we use, Envirotech, and they have to come and mitigate now something that was 100%, 100% preventable.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too, is because like nowadays you have pans, right? They put pans under water heaters that have a drain pipe, or it has a drain port, right? So you run PVC to the nearest drain. Like most out here, you have drains in that pedestal, or they're on the floor, wherever they may be. Every house is a little bit different how they plumbed it, but wherever they may be, you run that PVC to the drain, which most plumbers should do because they sit in a pan. But what we see a lot is like they never ran the pan drain to an actual sewer drain.
It's just kind of ran down to the floor.
Yeah, and it's like, well, it's still gonna leak. And that's preference too. Some plumbers are like, well, you want to be able to see when it's leaking. It's not just going into a drain and you have no idea it's leaking. So it's a back and forth kind of thing. But to save your damages from drywall, or if your garage is like, you got boxes or so forth, like you want to be able to, you don't want all that stuff to get ruined. So there's ways to prevent it from costing you a couple more thousand, because we run into that a lot. The pan not being to the drain now ruined the pedestal. So you're doing a temporary install on a water heater so you have hot water to your house. But also, the mitigation team has to come in, mitigate that, and then rebuild it all. And then now you're calling a plumber back out for a second time to reinstall that the proper way. So that's one of the biggest things. And like another thing with that is like you have combustion air with gas water heaters, right? So you want to keep all like paints, gas, anything that's like flammable away from a water heater. It's one of the biggest things, keep all those stuff away. Like I've gone to houses where they have a gas tank sitting right next to the water heater. And I'm like, don't do that. Pull that away.
There's a live flame there.
Yeah, like pull that away. Like, have I seen it blow up? No, but it's happened, right? And that's why it's in code, like to keep it away from it. So, that's a big tip and trick. Keep your water heaters clear. Flush them, but keep them clear of anything flammable as well.
What about tanklesses? Is it different with tanklesses? Can you service your own? Is there a way to do preventative maintenance?
You can do preventative maintenance, and that's pretty simple too. You really got to be more careful with it, I would say. Just because like they could do like a vinegar solution, right? That they run through it, like, and that's the biggest thing. If you guys out there get like a tankless installed, I see a lot of tanklesses without, like, we call them like isolation valves or termination kits or whatever. There's a lot of terms for it, but all it is like it gives you two ports, right? It has your main feed, your cold line feeds the water heater, and then your hot line coming down. Well, these valves have an additional one with their own shutoff valves, so they're just service valves at the end of the day, right? So you could shut off the supply going to the house and into it and make it like a closed system for just your tankless.
So it's flushing it.
Yeah.
Out.
So you could use an acid to clean the heat exchanger, or you could use a vinegar that's like cleaner. It's not, you don't have acid running through your system. So if you're going to do it yourself, I say use a vinegar solution. If you're going to have a professional, most of them are going to use more like an acid base, because I feel like it does a better job. Like I've pulled more out of a heat exchanger with like an acid based chemical than with a vinegar like solution. So, but it is like you're able to do it. There are YouTube videos out there, but it's just making sure you do it proper, right? With that as well. Because all you're doing is they sell kits where it's a pump in a bucket, right? With the solution, you fill it up with water, based on what you're using, what the manufacturer like recommends for that, like 4 gallons, 5 gallons, usually a 5 gallon bucket. Fill it up with water in that solution, and then it has a pump in there. And all it's doing is pumping that water into the heat exchanger and back into your 5 gallon bucket. The sediment settling to the bottom, and it just keeps flushing. You do that for like 45 minutes. And then after
like
that,
a once a year type thing for that too.
Yeah, once a year. Well, see, that's again, if you're not having a softener on your home, you should be doing it about every 6 months, depending on the water quality, right? Like if you're in an area like Utah, we have crazy hard water. If you're in another part of the nation where it's not really hard, then you probably get away with once a year. But in the state of Utah, like if you don't have a softener, no, you need to be doing that 6 months, And a lot of these manufacturers void the warranty on these units if you don't have a softener with it. What people fail to realize is like on a tankless, like because of the heat exchanger in our hard water, if you're not softening it or putting some type of like water quality system on it, the manufacturers won't warranty when they fail because they're like, well, your water is extremely hard. Like it was bound to happen, you know, and you took no preventative maintenance to like fix that prior to it happening, right? So, but yeah, with the tankless, like I say, if you don't have a softener, you should be doing about every 6 months. If you do, at least once a year, bare minimum once a year. So obviously, the more you do it, the better. You know, it doesn't hurt it to do it more.
So with talking about that, adding the softener into play, how can people take care of their softener better? Because that sounds like it's an important part to your whole house system just as much as the heater is.
Like maintaining your softener?
Yeah.
Well, there's really not, I mean, there's not much, right? Softeners are pretty like good systems. Like depending on the brand you're using, they're really good systems. Like
they have like a self-cleaning, self-regeneration.
Yeah, because they clean themselves. They have regeneration, right? So the resin, it takes all that calcium, magnesium, and it catches onto there, right? And then the regeneration is like, because people think it's the salt. The salt, all that is like the brine solution, right? That's what cleans it. So once that, all the resin takes over, like the calcium, magnesium, and it softens that water going through. It depends. Every model is a little bit different, right? But you're running into like, it's going based off of gallons. Once so many gallons are used, it's going to go through a regeneration process to clean out that system. So the biggest thing you could do is stay on top of your salt. Like, don't let it go without salt, because when it needs to regenerate, that's how it cleans itself. And if it keeps going without salt, then it's not cleaning itself, and you're just going to shorten that lifespan of that water softener. What people I go to so many homes and they have a softener, and I'm like, hey, it's empty. Like, where's your salt at? Oh, I haven't filled it up in a while. I'm like, it's like, stay on top of it, because these units, for one, aren't cheap. And they save your home from a lot. You know what I mean?
Back to neglect.
Yeah, it's just neglecting. You know, like hard water out here is crazy, right? It shortens the lifespan of your water, of your really all of your appliances, water heaters, dishwasher, refrigerator, right? Whatever they're hooked to, right? It shortens the lifespan of everything. Faucets, the showers, like, because everything that takes water usually has a cartridge in it, or the supply lines are very small, so that hard water will fill it up, you know, and then you're down to not having any water flow in those areas. Your dishwashers, like if you have a softener, you're not really going to see all those hard water spots on your like glasses and stuff like that. So it helps with it, right? So having that soft water is going to expand the lifespan of like your dishwasher. Now you're seeing like dishwashers last like 5 years out here, right? Out here, the water's brutally hard. So you're seeing people change them out every 5 years. People with softeners, they're getting a lot more lifespan out of them. So, I mean, softeners, I'm a big advocate for. Have them on your house, because even with your plumbing systems have, like nowadays, we're a lot of PEX, so it's plastic pipe. And I like to tell people, like, think about erosion, like how erosion works, right? Like with water, right? It's pulling away all the dirt and it's bringing it farther down. It's really the same concept with like hard water. Like it's going through the pipes, but you have like these minerals that are in it, and they slowly just start to carve out the pipe in different spots, and that's when you'll get your like pinhole leak, you know, and like you have a little pinhole coming out. Crazy thing is, you'll see, like, what people don't realize, what you can do as well is, like, if you see a calcium boil on any of your fittings, like that are like supplied pressurized water lines, you see the calcium boils that are white, you know, I like to call them, they look like cancer, like just big old balls. But with it is that was a water leak at one point. It was very slow that the hard water was able to cover it up. But if you were to go knock all that off, it probably started leaking on you again. So you see that, like, call a plumber, have them come out, take a look at it. Usually it's going to get changed out because it's been leaking at some point.
So we were talking, like you said something earlier about like with the tanklesses using an acid base or things like that. So I want to talk about drains a little bit, because it's so common to go to a store, pick up like a bottle of Drano, pick up some kind of chemical to throw down there. And you think, oh, my problems are clear. And I admittedly used to be that way. I'd put Drano in absolutely everything until I went and cleaned out my P-traps at my house. And when I did that, I could see that nothing was really fixed. I just had a much bigger problem that I had to fix after the fact. So what would you give advice to people on with their drains when it comes to making sure they're taken care of?
So the biggest issues we see with drains are like kitchen drains, right? Because a lot of people still fail to realize, like, you can't pour grease down your drain. You know what I mean? Like, grease just hardens up down the way, and you start getting, just say it's clogged arteries, you know? It just starts filling these pipes. You go from 2-inch pipe or 1.5 to 4-inch, and you slowly just start closing that pipe up, you know? So with it, like, you want to stay away from eggshells, grease down your kitchen drains, food. Like, people have garbage disposals, but I tell them it's not a trash can. Like, don't use it as a trash can. Use your trash can for your food. Yeah, you're gonna have a little bit of stuff, you know what I mean? And that's what your garbage disposal is meant for. But it's not meant for literally throwing chicken wings down. So staying on top of keeping that stuff out is going to help the longevity of your drain system, but also like preventative jetting, having your pipes jetted.